When I think about how people should remember Kelly's work with the CCBDD organization, is she came up through the ranks. And so being able to understand what it is to work in an organization at different levels of the organization is not something that goes away. And so I think when you hearken back to her impact, you'll know that she walked in the shoes of other professionals within the organization and kept that with her.
Kelly was very respected across the state in terms of her opinions and her thoughts about where services were headed in the developmental disabilities field. She was so well thought and well spoken that people really listened when she had something to say. She also made it a point to encourage all of our staff to share our knowledge and our talent throughout the state. So going to conferences, presenting information, being involved in statewide work groups, she really focused on how not only can we do things well in Cuyahoga County, but how can our staff help the rest of the state and therefore all the people living in Ohio with a developmental disability.
Kelly is an excellent manager because she cares for people, and I think she's well informed. She has vision, and she has the ability to translate the vision into effective action, which some people are visionaries but not very effective, and others don't have the vision but can carry out. But she's got both.
I am telling you that you could tell she was influencing and persuading people as she spoke in all the right ways. And she made recommendations and changes, things at the state level that really improved our system dramatically over the years.
Kelly's body of work was, I think, both detailed and big picture. I mean, she spent a lot of time with rules and regulations and making sure all those rules and regulations were followed. She also had good ideas about providers' quality and how we could help improve that or how we could measure it. And so it was both a local level and a state level to improve the overall system. I think Kelly was instrumental in furthering the mission of both county boards and providers.
Kelly's whole reason for wanting us to be the best of the best was about the individuals receiving the best of the best. And that's all she ever wanted the whole time she was here, was what can we do to support the people? And I think everything she did came back to the individuals. She really changed the landscape of how we worked together. We always worked together and partnered, but it was at a whole different level during COVID, and she was part of the team and there every week for us, asking what do people need, what do we need to do differently, what can we try, what do you guys need, and really helping us through probably the worst couple of years of any provider's existence.
Kelly showed true leadership in her efforts to lead the organization to privatization. It was a difficult choice. It was fraught with feedback from families and providers about how do you select someone to do these services, how do we, it was just an overall culture change to how we had our whole history of our organization, and moving from a service provider to one of just authorizing services and relying on private providers to provide those services. It affected staffing, it affected morale, it affected the finances of the organization. It was just a large legacy building kind of decision and effort that was necessary to be successful.
When she had to do something, she was well calculated by her and carried out in an efficient manner. I think this handling this Medicaid change, which was such a major change in the operation of the county board and what we were used to, that in itself was probably the most major thing I think that she got involved in. I know it was a heavy-duty correction for everybody, parents, caregivers, employees.
The other thing that Kelly really made an impact on in terms of Cuyahoga County was the community housing for people with developmental disabilities. Our very first ICF homes were to help people move out of state institutions like Broadview Developmental Center. And Kelly was involved in everything from helping identify those homes to matching people to live in those homes. And that interest in housing and community living for people with disabilities continued throughout her time at the board. She challenged us to come up with different ideas, from smaller homes, unlicensed homes in the community, to apartments where one or two people would share supports, to technology, to even our tri-tech apartments. She was always asking us to look ahead. What's new? What do people want? And she was always on the forefront of making sure that people had safe and inviting places to live in the community.
She was always able to look at the big picture and then figure out how to get it down to the small picture and get it through to folks why it was important to try these different things. And it wasn't just that the county board would do something like, here's this cool tech stuff. It was like, come see this cool tech stuff. Come try it. Can we come to you and show you here? Can you guys use this stuff someplace? So it was, she'd start the fire and then she'd throw gas on it so we'd all get excited and want to be a part of it. So there were a lot of things that she did that really will continue to improve folks' lives for years to come.
I really learned from Kelly how to think differently about things and sometimes not be as black and white as maybe I wanted to be. She challenged me to think about people above the rules. And sometimes that was hard for me in the beginning of my career.
Kelly was one of those, being the first woman in a very big, county board as the superintendent. She really set the standard for others who have now come behind her. Certainly Amber, certainly others in other county boards. And because she was so well respected at the state level, many had looked to her as an example, as a mentor, as someone to learn from. And I think she's really nurtured other women in the field in significant ways.
The one thing I would like to say is congratulations on joining the Hall of Fame. Kelly, I think it is well-deserved, and it is an honor to be a part of the team that can talk about all the great things that you've done and who you are.
Kelly was a remarkably competent, talented individual who, in my view, never lost the ability to relate to people on a personal level. And I think that pervaded her work at the state and local level. And it's one of the many things I admire about Kelly.
She's well-deserved for her commitment and work effort, and I think she's a welcome addition to the Hall of Fame, and also being my friend.